Welcome to episode 118 of the Girl About the Globe podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be taking you on a journey to a European country called Liechtenstein. If you've ever wanted to go to this tiny little country in Europe, this episode is for you. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Girl About the Globe, a podcast for you, the solo female traveller, empowering women to travel solo with maximum adventure, minimum impact.
You've probably never heard of it, but Liechtenstein is a really tiny country. It's tucked between Switzerland and Austria. It's actually the sixth smallest nation in Europe, and it's the only country to sit fully within the Alps. It's nestled between Austria and Switzerland, and it isn't as popular as the other destinations. The country is very expensive, even more than Switzerland. It's not really the place to go to if you're looking to party or have a wild time. The only wild thing there is really nature, and its appeal is to those who love the outdoors. However, the locals do love their food, and there are gourmet restaurants throughout the country too. There are quite a few reasons though why you should visit Liechtenstein. The first one is that it does have cultural attractions. It has gorgeous green landscapes that are perfect for hiking. It has traditional cuisine. And being a very small country, it's very easy to move around the entire country. One other plus about Liechtenstein is that you can actually visit it any time of the year. The best time for visiting really depends on what you want to do. So the main tourist season here runs from June to October. You can visit in autumn, which is actually when I went, and you can see the red and brown hues of the trees, which are just absolutely magical. Or you can visit in the winter and see its snowy wonderland. You can ski here as well, so the ski season starts in December, runs through to April. Two of the most popular ski resorts are Steg and Melbourne. There's also an area called Trizen, which is a mecca for cross-country skiers, and at 1600 metres you can snowboard, cross-country ski, or just toboggan your way around. If you don't like the winter, you don't have to visit in the winter because Steg is also popular with hikers during the summer season. And if you're planning to go up into the mountains, Trizenberg is a really good stopover village from the spring to the autumn season too. But the main reason for visiting here is because it's a hiker's paradise. Especially if you visit at the end of the season, you can enjoy the landscapes without having that many people to share it with. In the country itself, there are 400 kilometres of marked hiking trails. So you've got everything from valley walks through nature reserves to climbing peaks of up to 2,600 metres. And there's a place called the Saris chairlift, which is at Melbourne, and it's an ideal starting point for the majority of the hikes in the country. If you prefer biking instead of hiking, there are 90 kilometres of marked bike paths. And you can also buy maps for biking routes when you're in the country if you don't download them before. If you prefer something a little bit more challenging than biking or hiking, you can also do rock climbing here. And there's also a high rope adventure park. You can trek with llamas, which is very, very unique, but be prepared to be walking along with children too. The country also has history, even though it's quite a small country and it's obviously all about the hiking and the landscapes. There are a couple of treasures that you really shouldn't miss if you go there. Make sure to visit Balzers, which has the Gothenburg Fortress and the Gothic Castle, and also Schellenberg for its fortress ruins. The history of Liechtenstein actually started there, and the area offers a really great view of the Alps. Other places to see for history are Schian, which has stained glass chapels, and Nendown for its Roman villa ruins. The capital is called Vaduz. It doesn't feel or look like a capital like you would expect from Europe, to be honest. It's more like a countryside village, and the highlight here is Vaduz Castle, which is nearly 700 years old. It's been in the family of the princes of Liechtenstein for 300 years. You can't actually visit the castle, unfortunately, but if you do stand below, you might be lucky enough to visit the prince, who's actually now retired, who sits by his statue apparently, and he talks to passing tourists about his country. But what you can do is drink the prince's wine from his private vineyards at the court wine cellars of Hofkleri. If you like art, the family's art collection can also be seen on a guided tour at the Liechtenstein Garden and City Palace. So if you are going there to ski or hike, you could easily stay up to a week. But if you're just sightseeing, you only really need 2 days maximum, I would say. And you don't even have to stay over, because visiting Liechtenstein from Zurich in Switzerland is really doable. So you can actually just do a day trip. You can hire a car, you can drive through on a day trip on your way to Switzerland or to Austria and just stop a few hours. And if you're unsure what you can do in Liechtenstein in one day, you can practically see everything, as even the museums won't take you long. They've got the Art Museum, Liechtenstein National Museum, Ski Museum, or the Postage Stamp Museum, which has decorated pavement stamps outside. And if you don't really fancy walking around the capital, you can actually take the city train instead and learn about the country as you're riding on the train. You can even get a glimpse of the Red House, which is Vaduz's oldest house from the 17th century that you may not be able to see on foot. You can take the walking path, if you do choose to walk, to the Kanzeli for a panoramic view of Vaduz and the Rhine Valley below. Vaduz is also home to the treasure chamber of the Principality of Liechtenstein. For accommodation, the country has a number of 3 and 4 star hotels. You can also find guest houses and B&Bs in the mountains, as well as the mountain huts that you stay in. If you're interested in hiking around the country, there's 3 little huts you can stay in along the way. If you're on a budget, there's also one hostel in the country that's situated between Schaan and Vaduz, or you can camp at the Mittergasbeiße campsite instead. I do have recommended accommodation on the Liechtenstein guide on the Girl About the Globe blog. From the airport, there isn't an airport because the country is actually so small, but if you fly into Zurich in Switzerland, the airport is only 13 kilometres from the city, so you can drive from the airport, you can take a train, you can take a tram or an airport taxi to Zurich, or if you're taking the train to Sargans, you can then take the bus to Vaduz. Getting around Liechtenstein, there are buses that run quite regularly and that makes it quite easy to get around. There's a bus company called Lee Mobile Bus, which runs into Buchs in Switzerland and Falkirk in Austria. Taxis are also there and they are reliable, or you can just drive yourself around and hire a car. Many people that actually visit there just cycle around the country because it is so small. If you're wondering if you can drink the water, yes you can. There are ATMs, they drive on the right hand side of the road, and the country is reasonably good for vegetarians. So this one is a very, very short episode because Liechtenstein is so tiny. But if you are considering going to Switzerland or Austria in Europe, I do recommend also having a look at Liechtenstein and seeing if you can just pass through for a few hours, or if you love hiking or skiing, then this could be a good destination for you. Just one point to highlight is that if you are going here as a solo, it is perfect for the solo traveller who loves the outdoors and it's very safe to travel around. However, you might not really meet people. The country does attract more families than solo travellers, so you do really need to be comfortable with your own company if you do choose to visit here. And if you do decide to go, then I do have a guide on the Girl About the Globe blog. It's called Is Liechtenstein Worth Visiting? And I will put a link in the show notes. And I will be back next week with solo travel in the Philippines. In the meantime, safe travels.
Thanks for listening to our Girl About the Globe podcast, making solo travel easier for you. Find everything that you need for your solo travels at girlabouttheglobe.com, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.